Hey everyone, welcome to Patriot vs. Box, where I give you my commentary news of the day as reported by the Wall Street Journal. First up, Happy New Year everybody, and Happy New Decade. Hope the 20s are great, and more on that later, because there are some op-eds about, like, will the 20s actually be roaring and whatnot. But before we get to that, first up, Boeing is, after the 737 MAX disasters, which were caused by, mainly by failure in the plane's autopilot systems, Boeing is now committing even more effort into developing a better automated system. Because now, currently, most passenger airlines, there's a good chance that you've been on at least one plane where the pilots have been asleep, both pilot and co-pilot. Like, officially, according to FAA regulations and airline policies, there's supposed to be at least one pilot or co-pilot awake at any time, because like one person can nap while the other person flies. Because these plane flights are long; they need a break. But nowadays, a lot of pilots admit like both them and the co-pilot being dead asleep. Like so, one time, like sometimes one person's woken up to realize the other person was also asleep, and so you would think that's dangerous, but no, because most planes are like almost entirely automated. Like once they get the plane up in the air, then click on autopilot until they have to land. That's incredible. I think that we've come that far since. And it's only been like 117 years since the first powered manned aircraft took off from Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. You know, the Wright brothers plane. But yeah, Boeing needs to fix its. As long as they can fix the automated systems on the 737 MAX, they should have less problems with it. And next up, the bunch of new state laws took effect yesterday because a lot of laws on their pass, they don't take effect immediately. It's usually like take effect 30, 60, or 90 days after passage. Sometimes they take effect like New Year's Day next year. So 100 state laws became law yesterday. Like for example, let's see. Some of the examples that it lists are. Or like I'm obviously I don't list the whole thing because there's hundreds, but some of the examples are like New York eliminated cash bail for defendants charged with minor offenses and nonviolent felonies. So it's like so you can't bail. So bail does not get you does not eliminate your crime. Like it's not like paying for crime. It just means that you don't have to spend your trial time in prison, which means you can still, live and work during the trial, which is, I think, much more fair. I think if you can pay bail, it's much better than, actually going to the clink while you wait for your trial to be over. And then California eliminated circumstances under which police can use deadly force, which is now only justified there when it's necessary to defend human life, which I think is a bad idea because cops need, as a general principle, killing people is wrong and is definitely a last resort for cops. But if cops see something if someone pulls a gun on a cop, then they have every right to shoot that person because they could be a threat. I mean, it's a risky business being a police officer, and they need to be prepared and able to take action, even if that action could be consequential later on, according with lawmakers. But in the heat of the moment, it's often hard to it's not in those situations. It's not like cops can go through a long process. Okay, does this person look threatening? Does this person meet to click off too many diversity boxes to make him a risky person to kill, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's like if they pull a gun, if you pull a gun on a cop, the cop's gonna kill you. That's because the cop has has probable cause that you're gonna try to kill him. So yeah, it's kind of strict on the California's being kind of too strict on cops. They're also now allowing ex-felons. They're allowing felons to serve on juries now in California, except if you're a sex offender or if you're on parole or probation. You can. So, I mean, maybe that. Who knows how they'll turn out actually. The New Mexico made it easier for felons to expunge their criminal records. More states are banning plastic bags. California's already got a ban, and now let's see, Oregon's took effect yesterday. Now, and later this year, Vermont, Maine, New York, and Connecticut's bans will come into effect. And then there's the bill I much railed against in California, the one that turns independent contractors into employees when it comes to tax purposes. I have no idea why Uber and Lyft decided to be based in California. Like, I don't know why any companies decide to, start in California. It's horrible for business. They consistently ranked as like the worst state for new businesses, and yet these brand new startups start there. They should have started like Texas, Massachusetts, Colorado, or other states that are like pretty friendly to startups. And then the Texas and the mass shoot, as usual, like whenever there's a shooting, gun control people will say, "See, this is why gun laws work." Like this is why gun laws should be implemented, and gun rights activists will say, "See, this is why guns and laws do not work." And the mass shooting that one gun law works, the kind of law that actually follows the Second Amendment and lets people own guns, because Texas started allowing people to conceal carry in church, and then that's how the church shooter was stopped after killing only 2 people. I mean, yeah, 2 people died. Not counting the shooter. That's still a lot better than like the dozens of people who would have died had there been no one with a gun in that church. And so that kind of does prove the point that the more people that when good people have guns, they can easily counter the bad people with guns. I mean, for liberals who say that eliminating guns will eliminate violence, they clearly have not read a history of the Middle Ages or ancient times, because guns have only been around since like mid 1300s and weren't even like widely used in militaries until more like 15 or 1600s. But people have been killing each other for much of history. Like Cain bashed his brother's head in with a rock or a club. First of all, it started like the first murder in history, and then there's all the ancient wars, the slaughter, just pick up a history book and you'll see all the murder of the conquerors: Alexander the Great, Julius Caesar, Genghis Khan, and other conquerors like Nebuchadnezzar, and sometimes just terrible people like, again, Nebuchadnezzar, just killing people left and right. So a gun ban will do nothing. As my sister would say, gun bans don't stop murder. They just make murderers more creative. So yeah, it's just gonna. Yeah, so you got a point. I mean, murderers are just gonna be like, well, I can't easily get a gun. Bash someone's head with a hammer. Actually, hammers are used in more homicides in the U.S. than guns. So just saying, it's not gonna a gun ban will not exactly work. Oh, and something I think is great. Trump showed Iran that the United States is not exactly run by Hillary Clinton anymore. Like, when I say run by Hillary Clinton, I mean, come on. Hillary pulled a lot of. I mean, she never was president, but she pulled a lot of strings when she was Secretary of State, Senator, and First Lady. So, Benghazi, she let people die. Even though the embassy pleaded for help, and four Americans, including an ambassador, died. However, an Iran-backed Iraqi militia attacked the U.S. embassy yesterday. Trump immediately responded with military force. Like, Iran was trying to use the militia to kick the 5,200 troops out of their American troops, out of Iraq. Trump actually responded with sending in more reinforcements to tear gas the crowds. If I were president, I would have used machine guns, but hey, it's his preference. He's president, so what? At least he used a military response instead of being like Obama and Hillary and clicking the snooze button instead of and hanging up the phone, instead of actually helping those people in Benghazi. So I think that Obama and Hillary should be prosecuted just for that, ignoring all the other corruption of Obama and Hillary combined, ignoring all of it, like Fast and Furious. If you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor. Hillary Care, Obamacare, all that stuff, ignoring all of that. Benghazi alone should be enough to convict, to get them at least some criminal conviction and some jail time. So, yeah, I think it's funny that liberals say that Obama had never had any scandals. I think letting people die when you can clearly help them, and you're president, letting your own diplomats, and your own soldiers die instead of helping them, I think that's enough to, get you thrown out of office, get you locked in jail for the rest of your life, etc. The next up, there's over to the op-ed section, there's a column that has its doing their 2020 predictions, because the guy who wrote it did one last year, and in 2019 he got he got a majority of them right. Like he predicted that the House impeached Trump. The like Democrats, even though they won the majority in the House, campaigned mainly on healthcare and green energy, and yet they split on both, clean energy and healthcare. Then Vladimir Putin kept up pressure in Ukraine. China and the U.S. reached they reached a limited trade deal, but when America couldn't stop China's intellectual property theft. And then there's still more, like Robert Mueller cleared the Trump campaign. There were 20 Democrats running for president, but the guy said Biden wouldn't run. Clearly Biden's running and he's the front runner. And then Trump's approval rating is holding steady. So you got all that. He failed everything on when predicting the Oscars, so he's not going to do that again this year. But then on to 2020 predictions, he thinks that the FBI, that the investigation going on into the FBI will come up showing that Obama and his team did act improperly with investigating the Trump campaign. So he thinks that will lead to, some trials and whatnot for those people. Hopefully for Obama, but he didn't say Obama will get charged. I really hope he will, but I really don't think Obama will get charged. As much as I want him to, because he's a crook. I think, come on, he controls enough of the Democratic Party to not save his skin. Then, also predicted Pete Buttigieg will win Iowa, because he's currently leading the polls, so he'll probably win that. But no Democrat's going to arrive at the convention with a majority. So I read a book this semester for college, entitled do conventions even matter anymore? And it's basically the point was we were in the olden days, when the country was first founded, when political parties first became a thing, the conventions largely decide who the president would be, and then later on, approximately 100 years ago, they started using in primaries and caucuses sort of they didn't really mean much as far as who actually got nominated. They just showed that there's a way for new candidates to say, hey, look, I can win this primary, so maybe I can win the national election, and sort of give them more favorability in the eyes of party bosses who still pick people. So running a primary was sort of seen as a weakness. You're the lower guy. But now primaries and caucuses almost entirely determine who's going to be a nominee, and rarely do superdelegates actually have to cast their votes. But still, this means that this will likely be one where the superdelegates do have to come in, because according to this guy, because he says that no Democrat will probably receive a majority in the convention, which I agree. They'll probably be a contested convention, so there'll actually be a point for this one. And so he says Mr. Biden, they'll probably come out on top. And then Trump's not going to win the popular vote because Democrats have California and New York. But, again, the election will come down to Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Trump will do better with minorities than he did last time. And so the victory will depend on Trump's discipline and whom the Democrats nominate. So if they nominate anyone but Biden, according to this guy, Trump's going to win. But if they nominate Biden, then Trump's got an uphill fight, but he could still pull it off. So it's a definite win if it's not Biden for Democrats, and if it is Biden, they're gonna fight it out. Also, there'll be a U.S.-UK trade deal because and another trade deal with China because once Brexit happens, they'll need to make another trade deal with the U.S. The U.S. is going to drop its carbon, is going to continue to reduce its own carbon emissions, independent of the UN and whatnot. And then the Paris Climate Accord signatories are going to increase theirs, China and India especially. There's not going to be a recession, but GDP is not going to rise more than 2.3%. So the economy is still going to grow, but it'll slow down a little bit. And then this guy finally predicts that the Ravens are going to be the Super Bowl champions, so disputable. And that the U.S. will top the overall and gold medal counts in the Tokyo Olympics, which are this summer. And so, he said, having learned his lesson, he's not going to pick the Oscars. And really, the way they do the Oscars, it's essentially a bribed vote. So it's it doesn't really matter. And then finally, there's not been titled Hate Crime is Only a Step Away from Thought Crime, which is an idea mentioned in George Orwell's great book, which I totally recommend you read, 1984. It's thought crime, you go to jail because you thought something wrong or you said something wrong. And a hate crime is pretty much the same thing. It's pretty much only the step is the name and like a more effective enforcement of this. Like for example, in the U.S., like you can burn the American flag, like that's considered fine, but watch out. The only law you could possibly get punished for burning the American flag is anti-arson laws, but good chance you could probably get away with it. Saying F the police is fine in the U.S. Saying saying that the government's stupid, Hillary Clinton calling Americans deplorables, Ilhan Omar are screaming out anti-Semitic and anti-American epithets. That's legal, but you apparently can't burn the gay pride flag. Why can you burn? I think it's outrageous that you can burn the American flag, but you can't burn the pride flag. I mean, I'm not saying that I would burn the rainbow flag, which I wouldn't, but I think it's ridiculous that it's illegal to in many places. But yeah, it's pretty like the idea of a hate crime is that the intent of your crime is what's punishable, not the crime itself. Like technically, they got away with punishing someone for 16 years in prison with a pride flag because one, this guy already had a extensive criminal record, and two, it technically counted as arson. But I think that they're legally speaking, they could punish him according to the letter of the law, but the spirit of the law wasn't in line with it. The spirit of the law is like if you burn down private property or public property, you go to jail. But what they're actually trying to punish him for is, insulting the gay community, which I think is anti-American because, because America is built on free speech and free expression. And so if you try to regulate that, then you really don't believe in free speech. And it's really an important bedrock of our republic, because if we can't say what we want, then all the other freedoms are going to be tossed out the window immediately. So the First and Second Amendments are first for a reason. First, you can say you can say and do whatever you want, or you can say what you want, believe what you want to believe, and protest how you want. Second Amendment is you can shoot you can shoot the government when it tries to infringe on the First or any other amendments. If you lose those two amendments or most of them, then all the other amendments and other constitutional rights are tossed out the window. That's just what happens in every country that tries that. So if you're punishing people for the idea or the intent behind the crime is wrong. Punishing people for arson, totally cool with that. I mean, yeah, arson's a crime. But if you're punishing them for burning the pride flag because they burned the pride flag, not just because they burned something, then that's thought crime. That's totally anti-American. That's all I got for you on this episode of Patriot Soapbox. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more great daily content.